What you are about to witness will shake you to your absolute core. I'm not here to sugarcoat this. I'm not here to play nice, because what happened wasn't nice. What happened was an assault. What happened was a statement that the wrestling world cannot ignore any longer. They say strength respects strength. They say competition brings out the best in athletes. But what happens when strength becomes brutality? What happens when competition becomes carnage? What happens when a champion decides that winning isn't enough, that destruction is the only message worth sending? Hello viewers, welcome to WrestleScope. If you're new here, please don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for daily updates on WWE Raw. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the wrestling world is exploding right now, why officials are being called to answer questions, and why Oba Femi might have just become the most dangerous man in professional wrestling. Let me paint you a picture. Actually, let me rip that picture apart, because that's exactly what Oba Femi did to his opponent. Here's what the company wanted you to see. A championship caliber match. 2 competitors. 1 ring. May the best man win. Standard stuff, right? Wrong. Here's what actually happened. A 6'4", 270-pound wrecking ball named Oba Femi decided that the rules, the referees, the officials, and even basic human decency didn't apply to him anymore. And you know what the worst part is? Nobody stopped him. Nobody could stop him. The challenger, let's call him what he is, a victim, stepped into that ring-rinsed dreams of glory. He trained for months. He studied tape. He prepared his body and mind for the fight of his life. And what did he get for all that preparation? He got carried out on a stretcher. Not because he wasn't good enough, not because he made a mistake, but because Oba Femi decided to send a message written in blood and broken bones. And here's where I'm going to make some people very uncomfortable. Where were the officials? Where was the referee? Where was management? Because from where I'm sitting, from where thousands of fans were sitting, and from where millions of you watching this video are sitting, it looked like they let this happen. That's right, I said it. They let this happen. You want to know why? Because Oba Femi puts butts in seats. Because Oba Femi sells merchandise. Because Oba Femi generates revenue. And in today's wrestling world, apparently profit matters more than people. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you through what happened moment by brutal moment. And I dare you, I challenge you to watch this entire video and then tell me in the comments that what Oba Femi did was acceptable. Tell me this is just wrestling. Tell me this is entertainment. Go ahead, I'll wait. To understand the magnitude of what happened, you need to understand who Oba Femi is. This isn't some rookie who got lucky. This isn't some flash-in-the-pan talent who will be gone next year. Oba Femi is a phenomenon. He's a force of nature wearing wrestling boots. Since arriving on the scene, Oba Femi has dominated everyone and everything in his path. We're talking about a man who benches small cars for fun, a man whose physical presence alone makes grown men reconsider their career choices. He doesn't just defeat opponents, he erases them from memory. The record speaks for itself. Undefeated, undeniable, unstoppable. But here's what the highlight reels don't show you. Here's what the promotional packages conveniently edit out. The injuries, the mysterious absences of his previous opponents, the way wrestlers backstage go silent when his name comes up, the way officials suddenly find reasons to be anywhere else when Oba Femi is scheduled. This isn't respect. This is fear. And fear is exactly what Oba Femi feeds on. The challenger, and we're going to respect his name, even if Oba Femi didn't respect his body, was someone who believed he could be different. He believed that skill, heart, and determination could overcome raw power. He believed that David could still beat Goliath in 2026. He was wrong. The weeks leading up to this match were filled with the usual pre-fight theatrics, stare-downs, promos, the challenger talking about his family, his journey, his dreams, standard wrestling storytelling, right? But looking back now, knowing what we know, those promos feel different. They feel like farewell speeches. And maybe, just maybe, someone should have recognized that. Social media was buzzing. Fans were divided. Half thought the challenger had a legitimate shot. His technical ability was off the charts. His speed was undeniable. His ring IQ was genius level. The other half?
They were already planning the funeral. Turns out that second half knew something the rest of us didn't want to admit. When you step into the ring with Oba Femi, you're not competing in a wrestling match. You're entering a survival scenario. The destruction begins. The atmosphere in the arena that night was electric. You could feel the anticipation crackling through the air like lightning before a storm. Fans were on their feet, signs were waving, chants were echoing through the building. And then Oba Femi's music hit. The energy shifted immediately. It wasn't excitement anymore. It was something primal, something darker. It was the feeling you get when you realize you're about to witness something you can't unsee. Oba Femi walked to that ring like a man on a mission, not a wrestling mission, not an entertainment mission, a search and destroy mission. His eyes were locked on the ring. His expression was stone-cold murder. This wasn't a competitor entering a sporting event. This was a predator entering a hunting ground. The challenger stood in the ring, trying to look confident, trying to hide the fact that every survival instinct in his body was screaming at him to run. Credit where it's due. He stood his ground. Brave? Sure. Smart? We're about to find out. The bell rang. 3 seconds. That's how long the actual wrestling match part of this lasted. 3 seconds. Oba Femi crossed that ring like a freight train that forgot to brake. The challenger attempted a technical approach, tried to use his speed, tried to work an angle. Oba Femi grabbed him by the throat mid-movement, and the whole complexion of this match changed instantly. What happened next wasn't wrestling. I need to be crystal clear about this. What happened next was an attack. The first powerbomb came without warning. The sound of the challenger's body hitting the mat echoed through the arena like a gunshot. Fans gasped, some turned away, but Oba Femi, he was smiling. The referee immediately checked on the challenger, who was clearly hurt. Protocol says stop the match, right? Call for medical assistance, protect the performer. But before the referee could make that call, Oba Femi shoved him aside and dragged the challenger up by his hair. Let me repeat that. Dragged him up by his hair. The second powerbomb was worse. More height, more impact, more violence. The challenger's body folded in ways that bodies shouldn't fold. And the crowd, that electric crowd from 5 minutes ago, they were silent. Some were booing. Some were chanting for it to stop. And some, and this disgusts me, some were cheering. The referee tried to intervene again. This time, Oba Femi looked at him with eyes that said everything. Get in my way, and you're next. The referee backed off. Let that sink in. The one person whose job it is to protect the performers backed off because he was afraid. And honestly, I don't blame him. I'd be afraid too, but that doesn't make it right. Powerbomb number 3 lifted the challenger over Oba Femi's head and brought him crashing down with such force that the ring literally shook. Medical personnel at ringside started moving toward the apron. Surely, someone would stop this now. Nobody did. At this point, this wasn't a match anymore. The bell should have been rung. The contest should have been stopped. This was a beating being broadcast to the world, and nobody, not the referee, not backstage officials, not security, was doing a damn thing about it. Oba Femi wasn't finished, not by a long shot. He dragged the challenger to the corner, and when I say dragged, I mean dragged like a rag doll, like a piece of garbage, with zero regard for his well-being. The challenger was barely conscious. His eyes were glazed over. His body was limp. Every medical professional watching this knew this man needed help, not more violence. Oba Femi propped him up in the corner. The challenger couldn't even stand on his own. He was being held up purely by Oba Femi's grip. And then it happened. A series of strikes that were so brutal, so vicious, so completely unnecessary that even the announcers went silent. Forearms, elbows, knees, each one landing with sickening impact, each one delivered with maximum force, each one designed not to win a match because the match was already won, but to inflict pain, to cause damage, to send a message. The challenger's head was snapping back with each shot like a crash test dummy. Blood started to appear. I won't get graphic here, but let's just say this was no longer a family-friendly product. This was real violence with real consequences. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, Oba Femi was taking his time. He was enjoying this. Between strikes, he was talking. We couldn't hear exactly what he was saying, but his body language said everything. This is my kingdom. These are my rules, and I decide when this ends. Fans were leaving. Parents were covering their children's eyes. The atmosphere had gone from electric excitement to horrified disbelief. This wasn't what they paid to see. This wasn't entertainment. This was assault with thousands of witnesses. Finally, after what felt like an eternity but was probably only a minute or two, management sent officials to ringside, not to stop Oba Femi, mind you, not to protect the challenger, but to assess the situation. Assess the situation. Assess the situation. The situation was obvious to everyone watching. A man was being brutalized in front of a live audience, and the only thing being assessed was how much more abuse he could take before the company faced legal consequences. But here's where it gets really interesting, and by interesting, I mean infuriating. When officials tried to approach the ring, Oba Femi's music hit again, as if this was a celebration, as if this was a victory lap. Oba Femi released the challenger, who collapsed to the mat like a puppet with cut strings, and Oba Femi posed. He flexed. He looked out at the crowd with an expression that can only be described as pride in his destruction.